Hey, what's up my friends? My name is Bill. Welcome to Cars That Last. On today's video, the top 5 Toyotas that last 300,000 miles or more. Welcome back to my channel. I've been gone for a little while. It's great to be back with you. I still love looking at cars that can last a long time. I've just had a lot of bumps in the road in the last couple of years. Everything is okay, and it's really great to be back with you. Now, as you probably already know, Toyotas do last a long time, but I was curious to find out how long all of the Toyotas do last. What are the top performing Toyotas from a mileage comparison? If you're new to my channel, I love studying the car marketplace. I love analyzing data to see which cars are the most reliable. In this video, besides high mileage, I'll also share with you which ones are the most affordable cars under $10,000 and under $6,000. So there were 13 Toyotas that were able to hit the 300,000 mark when I did this survey. I'm going to put a list of all 13 so you can see where your vehicles finish. So with that, let's jump right into it. I'd like to start off with the 2 vehicles that tied for 6th place. Coming in 6th place is the Toyota Land Cruiser with 17 vehicles above 300,000 miles. And the other one is the Toyota Sienna, also had 17 vehicles above 300,000 miles. Both vehicles are proven to be extremely reliable. The really amazing statistic about the Land Cruiser, I think the top production year for the Land Cruiser was only about 20,000 vehicles. So we consistently see these vehicles hitting that 300,000 mark. For the Sienna is one of the great values out there. For the Toyota Sienna, this is a very plentiful car in the used car marketplace. If you need a family hauler, this is one to take a look at. There were a total of 872 Siennas, less than $10,000 across the United States for sale. In fact, 630 of those had less than 200,000 miles. That's a whopping 72% of vehicles under $10,000 had less than 200,000 miles. So there's a lot more potential in some of these used Siennas. In addition, reminder that 94 of them had the all-wheel drive. So if you need a family hauler in winter conditions like I'm in, that could be a great choice. Side note on that, reminder that the all-wheel drive version does not carry a spare, so you want to make sure you have run-flat tires or you want to have some sort of tire inflation kit with you. So for the Siennas, 2004 to 2006 models had dashboard cracking issues, and the Sienna is subject to the Takata airbag recall. Reminder that if I mention Takata airbags, they are known to be faulty. On impact, they can explode and send shrapnel. You want to make sure you get that fixed free of charge at a Toyota dealer. In 5th place is the Toyota Camry. There were 19 vehicles above 300,000 miles. The highest Camry was a 2003 model with the 2.4-liter 4-cylinder engine. It had a whopping 365,000 miles on it. Interesting statistic on the Camry, 2 of the 19 vehicles above 300,000 miles were the V6 model. The remainder were the 4-cylinder models. That features the 2.2-liter 4-cylinder in older versions or the 2.4-liter 4-cylinder for some of the newer versions. Now, it's easy to throw Camry on this list, being that it's the #1 selling car in the United States. Bang for the buck, Camry is an excellent used car. I found a total of 925 Camrys under $6,000 in price, and out of those, 375 had less than 200,000 miles. And in fact, 41% of those had less than 150,000 miles. So for under $6,000, you can get a Camry for under 150,000 miles. It's probably going to be an older one, early 2000s, but these are still very reliable vehicles. Is there a Camry to avoid? Reminder that the 2007 to 2009 models do have an issue with burning oil. I'm consistently seeing the 2002 to 2006 models hitting that 300,000 mark, and there's still a lot of good used Camrys in those years available, and get 30 miles per gallon. My target, I could find a number of Camrys under 125,000 miles for under $6,000. This is a great way to beat inflation prices of cars right now. Car number 4 is the Toyota Sequoia. There were 21 Sequoias that had more than 300,000 miles. The highest mileage Sequoia was a 2002 model with almost 390,000 miles, and that featured the 4.7-liter V8. I've done a separate video on the 4.7-liter V8 from Toyota. It's rock solid reliable. In fact, there are 2 Tundras with that engine that have more than 1 million miles. There were 20 Sequoias that had the 4.7-liter V8. And there was one that had the newer version of the 5.7 liter V8. We're starting to see that 5.7 liter V8 hit 300,000 miles as well. So for under $10,000 in price, there were 353 Sequoias across the United States. 208 of those were the two-wheel drive, and the remainder were the four-wheel drive. 145 Sequoias had less than 200,000 miles, under $10,000. The Sequoia is a great all-purpose family hauler, has a third row seat, and four-wheel drive. Interesting statistics, quick facts on the Sequoia. Remember in 2005, the engine got a nice horsepower bump. It jumped from 240 horsepower to 282. In addition, in my opinion, the 2005 wheels look cooler than previous years. I'm finding that the prices for used Sequoias are fairly in line with what used 4Runners are, and you get a bigger truck. Remember in 2008, the Sequoia went to the new body style, featuring the 5.7 liter V8. That 5.7 liter had 381 horsepower and 401 pound-feet of torque. Now with the 2008 model and beyond, there were only 10 vehicles in that area under $10,000, so they're still gonna be more expensive. Reminder that Sequoias, Tundras, Tacomas, and 4Runners in the decade of the 2000s all suffered from frame rust. There was a recall for a number of those, but you really have to be careful if you're in the Rust Belt or you're buying a vehicle in the Rust Belt. Make sure to have that frame checked out. That might be a reason why the vehicles are a little bit cheaper. Number 3 is the legend, yes, the Toyota 4Runner. There were 27 vehicles above 300,000 miles. The highest mileage 4Runner had 368,000 miles. That was a 1998 model with a 3.4 liter V6. Interesting breakdown, there were 17 vehicles with the older 3.4 liter V6. There were 5 4-liter V6 4Runners that had more than 300,000 miles. And there were 4 4.7 liter V8 4Runners. In my opinion, this is a sleeper out there in the market. You can pick up a really nice used Toyota 4Runner that featured the 4.7 liter V8 in a few years from, I believe, 2004 to 2007. If you need a rugged vehicle that also has a ton of horsepower, that's the one to pick up. In my opinion, I think these are going to be more valuable down the road, minus the gas mileage, of course. For the 4Runner, there were 408 4Runners under $10,000. 164 of those were the two-wheel drive, and 236 were the four-wheel drive. There were 150 4Runners under 200,000 miles. No question, 4Runners hold their value. It seems to me that the best buy right now for 4Runners is the 2003 to 2007 model years. Those come with the 4-liter V6 with 245 horsepower and up to 21 miles per gallon, or the 4.7-liter V8 with 270 horsepower and 330 pound-feet of torque. That V8 4Runner has a max towing capacity of 7,000 pounds. The other thing I'm noticing is the 2000 to 2002 models are becoming more valuable and somewhat collectible. I know I'd love to have one of those with a 5-speed manual and a hood scoop in my garage. Again, 4Runners, watch out for the frame rot and also the Takata airbags. Number 2 is the Toyota Tacoma. There were 32 vehicles above 300,000 miles. The highest was a 2002 model with over 413,000 miles. In fact, I just saw an article featuring the 2.7 liter 4-cylinder engine. There was one Tacoma in the early 2000s that has now hit 1 million miles. And there may be more. For used Tacomas, I'm seeing both the 2.7 liter 4-cylinder and the 4-liter V6, both hitting over 300,000 miles. These are rock solid, reliable trucks. And it's becoming harder and harder to find a used Tacoma at a reasonable price. There were only 279 vehicles for less than $10,000. 201 of those had the two-wheel drive, and only 74 had the four-wheel drive. And only 117 of those vehicles had less than 200,000 miles. Most of the Tacomas for sale under 150,000 miles, under $10,000, were the 4-cylinder models. I'm also seeing the older Tacomas in the 80s and maybe early 90s on the Haggerty list for top collectible vehicles. One note, there were a handful of two-wheel drive Tacomas under 100,000 miles, under $10,000. So if you need a grocery getter, and you don't need four-wheel drive, you might be able to pick up one at a reasonable price. And the number 1 Toyota, can you guess it? Yeah, it's the Toyota Tundra. There were 38 Tundras that had more than 300,000 miles. The highest was a 2004 model with the 4.7 liter V8, had over 423,000 miles. As I've mentioned, the 4.7 liter and 5.7 liter V8s are rock solid reliable. There were 20 4.7 liter V8s and 18 5.7 liter V8s that had more than 300,000 miles. And don't forget, there are at least 2 Tundras out there that have hit the million-mile mark now. For affordability, there were 309 Tundras under $10,000. 173 of those were two-wheel drive, and 136 were four-wheel drive. And 110 of those had less than 200,000 miles for under $10,000. 36% of those had less than 150,000 miles. No question about it, full-size trucks are holding their value. They're getting more and more expensive, and Toyota's right in that bunch. If I wanted to find a Tundra, I'd probably look for an early 2000s Tundra. Those are going to be the most affordable. But it is becoming more difficult to find a Tundra under $10,000, under 200,000 miles with four-wheel drive. Reminder that the Tundras also suffer from the frame rot in the 2000s. All of these vehicles are subject to the Takata airbag recall. All right, well, again, it's great to be back with you. I hope to get some more content out here. If you're new to my channel, I appreciate you hitting the like button and consider subscribing. So how many miles are on your Toyota? I'd love to hear about it. Please put a comment below, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks so much for watching.